It's really happening. Porsche and Audi will soon have Formula 1 entries. One of F1's worst kept secrets has finally been properly addressed in public by a senior Volkswagen Group figure, so now we know for sure. This week, Volkswagen CEO Herbert Diess has stated publicly that Porsche and Audi have decided, with the VW Group's support, to enter Formula 1. Okay, this probably won't bring an end to all of the eye-rolling that talk of a Porsche or Audi F1 project has automatically triggered for a few years now. And many of you watching might still think, I'll believe it when they're on the grid. But this is no longer just speculation or VW taking baby steps towards a possible F1 entry. It's time to take this seriously, as we're about to explain. Last month, a meeting of the VW Group's supervisory board concluded without a final decision on whether Porsche and Audi would commit to an F1 project in 2026. However, it did confirm plans for both entries, subject to a successful final phase of its evaluation. And Diess, speaking in a YouTube livestream this week, has now claimed Porsche and Audi will enter. This has not been accompanied by any formal confirmation from either manufacturer. In fact, a Porsche spokesperson told us that its latest official position is unchanged, with a final decision still pending, presumably because there are still no formal 2026 technical regulations, which both Porsche and Audi have said are necessary. An official announcement may still take some time, and July's Austrian Grand Prix is looking increasingly likely. That would tie in with Red Bull's home race and the closest thing the VW Group has to a home Grand Prix, with Germany still not on the calendar. Porsche is set to confirm a collaboration with Red Bull powertrains for the new 2026 technical regulations. This will signal the return of Porsche after an absence of more than 30 years. It last competed as an engine supplier with the disastrous Footwork project in 1991. There are no new details on the two projects beyond what we covered in detail in our last video, with Diess simply confirming what we said about Porsche's path being very clear, but Audi's less certain. Audi is understood to be more interested in having a team and its own engine program, but Diess said that it is yet to find an existing entry to partner with or take over. Audi has been linked with various teams including McLaren, Williams, Sauber and Aston Martin. To facilitate the double entry, Porsche and Audi may need to cut back on other major motorsport programs. Audi had already withdrawn from Formula E to focus on customer racing, its electric Dakar Rally project, and a return to the top class of the Le Mans 24 Hours by collaborating on a Porsche-led joint project. However, Audi's Le Mans interest cooled months ago, which was understood to be to divert resources to pre-development work for the F1 program. Porsche has not indicated it wishes to abandon its planned prototype return. In fact, it's planning a two-car assault on Le Mans next year. But it's rare for a new manufacturer F1 project not to have collateral damage, and that could come in Formula E. Unlike Audi, Porsche has stayed in the electric single-seater series and has signed up to the Gen 3 era that begins next season. It has only confirmed up to the 2024 season though, and Diess says that if you do motorsport, you should do Formula 1, as that's where the impact is greatest. So if pulling the plug on Formula E is necessary, Porsche will surely do it. Before we get on to what's changed in F1 to convince the VW Group that the chance of an F1 entry now is too good to pass up, this is a quick thank you to those of you who have subscribed to our channel so far. We've enjoyed keeping you up to date with all of the developments in this story over the course of more than a year now, and if you want to know the latest on this and every other big story in F1, but you're not yet subscribed to our channel, hit that button anytime to join our crew. So why now? What does F1 offer that it didn't only 4 years ago, for example, when Porsche's interest was so great it had even developed a full V6 internal combustion engine and tested it on the dyno? Well, circumstances are different. The VW Group isn't battling a global scandal for starters. It was the Dieselgate controversy that ultimately left Porsche's last F1 project dead in the water back in 2018. Plus, F1 is not just a hybrid category, it's becoming increasingly electric and it's putting sustainable fuels front and centre. The 1.6-litre engines will remain, but they will lose the complex MGU-H component from the hybrid system and increased power from the MGU-K to up the electrical power to 350 kilowatts, around 469 brake horsepower, which will be almost half the total power output. This is all a massive attraction for the VW Group, which is also investing heavily in fuel innovations such as carbon capture technology. But this decision is not just a technical one. F1 is simply very appealing. Diess said the championship's emphasis on sustainability, its growth in the United States and Asia, and increasing popularity among younger viewers are the main reasons why it's time for two manufacturers we've traditionally associated with other forms of racing to finally make the leap. He even claimed that eventually you just run out of arguments against entering F1. This is a massive credit to F1, which has transformed its image and worldwide popularity in recent years since Liberty Media took over the championship and took a more modern approach to promoting it. None of its attempts to widen F1's appeal will ever be universally accepted by its hardcore fanbase, including us here at the race and plenty of you watching this video, I'm sure. But getting to the point where one of the biggest car companies in the world can no longer resist the temptation of joining the grid and is doing so with two of its major manufacturers is a massive vindication of the effort that has gone on behind the scenes. The VW Group also expects F1 to continue its recent growth and reckons its peak will not arrive until the second half of the decade, perfect timing for its entries in 2026. Then there is the competitive element. It would be a big risk to enter during stable regulations and an even bigger risk to try to fast-track any technological project. Honda found that out the hard way when it joined F1 in 2015, a year after the V6 turbo hybrid era started, but still a year earlier than it intended to. It took years and a fair amount of public humiliation for the Japanese manufacturer to make up that lost ground. A major technical shake-up in 2026 will negate much of the current manufacturer's existing advantage, and it's far enough away for the VW Group to ensure whatever technological responsibilities Porsche and Audi do take on is done on a sensible timescale. This has created the conditions to enter F1 without being on the back foot, and Diess reckons the same chance won't come again for another 10 years. Preliminary development work is understood to have started already, as Audi is picking up the aforementioned F1 spec V6 internal combustion engine that Porsche shelved in 2018. As Porsche is partnering with an existing entity, not building its own power unit like Audi, it could theoretically slap its branding on the Red Bull at any point before 2026, given its contribution to the Red Bull powertrains project may be limited anyway. But even if Porsche's entry is a glorified sponsorship deal to begin with, it would draw the line at giving its name to a Honda-designed power unit. That would go too far. And what influence it can have on Red Bull's project will only bear fruit in the longer term, again making 2026 the perfect point of entry.